The Joshua Tree.
Robbery. It should have been Michael. Like, what year was this? What album Michael Jackson had out at the time? I believe it was Bad. Was it Bad? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Bad.
What's been the reaction to the new record?
Michael Madness.
Yup, it was.
Beatlemania. This is Michael Madness. Everybody's coming in and buying Michael Jackson.
Bad arrived on August 31st, 1987, and
August 31st. That's the day before my birthday. I mean, after my
stopped
birthday.
to hear it. The pressure was unreal. This was the follow-up to Thriller, the biggest album in human history. Yet Michael didn't flinch. Within days, stores were struggling to keep copies on shelves. In the US alone, it moved roughly 500,000 copies in its first week, instantly shooting straight to #1 on the Billboard 200. Globally, demand was even more explosive. Some territories reported overnight sellouts as fans lined up outside record shops before opening. By early 1988, Bad was more than a hit. It was a cultural takeover. 5 singles reached #1, a milestone no male artist had ever achieved. MTV built entire blocks around his videos. Radio programmers were calling it the safest bet in music. Everyone, fans, critics, even rival labels, assumed Album of the Year at the Grammys was locked in. But behind the scenes, quiet rumblings began. Industry writers hinted the Recording Academy was shifting towards serious rock-leaning projects. Some speculated voters were uneasy with the idea of crowning the same artist twice after Thriller's historic sweep.
Oh my god, so they have basically voter fatigue.
Few insiders even claimed an unwritten rule emerged to spread the wins instead of reporting another Michael Jackson landslide. True or not, the tension was building, and it set the stage for one of the most surprising Grammy nights in music history.
Unstoppable force of the
If
Bad
Thriller
era.
made Michael Jackson a global icon, Bad proved he could do it again on his own terms. The album wasn't riding the momentum of a surprise breakout. It was engineered from day one to dominate. And it did. By early 1988, Bad had already passed 7 million US sales and was speeding toward 25 million worldwide, a number almost unthinkable for a second consecutive blockbuster. The singles were a storm. I Just Can't Stop Loving You debuted at #1. Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, and Dirty Diana followed, giving Michael 5 #1 hits from the same album, a record no male artist had ever touched. Every release became a cultural moment.
5 #1 hits from the same album and he didn't win Album of the Year. That is ridiculous. I ain't gonna lie, they be rigging the game, man. If he won it last year, he should win it again the next year. He just had the best album. It is what it is. Don't try to get voter. I don't even gonna call it voter fatigue. It was just y'all trying to spread the love, and I don't get that. Like if the other person didn't deserve to win, or they album won better than Michael's, they shouldn't have won. I hate that, man. Like, come on now.
Videos weren't just music clips. They were mini-films that MTV relied on to pull ratings. The Bad World Tour pushed the hype even further. Night after night, Michael walked onto stages packed with crowds so loud, security teams said they could feel the ground vibrating.
Oh my
In Japan, ticket demand tripled stadium capacities. In Europe, shows sold out in minutes. Michael wasn't just the biggest artist in the world, he was the biggest show on Earth. With all this momentum, the industry consensus was simple. The Grammys were supposed to reflect the year's impact. And if Album of the Year meant the record that defined the culture, then Bad seemed untouchable. But the Recording Academy in the late 1980s wasn't just judging sound. Rumors began circulating that voters had grown wary of pop megastars. Some insiders claim the Academy didn't want a repeat of 1984, when MJ swept nearly everything in sight. And that quiet resistance, real or imagined, was about to shape everything that happened next. To understand why Bad lost Album of the Year, you have to look at the Grammys of the late 1980s, a system that didn't operate the way fans imagined. Back then, the Recording Academy was dominated by older, rock-leaning voters who often valued serious albums over commercially massive pop records, no matter how revolutionary they were. Charts didn't sway them, sales didn't impress them, influence alone wasn't enough. And this is where the shift really begins. After Thriller completely swept the 1984 Grammys, some insiders said the Academy became cautious about ever letting one artist dominate like that again. It wasn't a written
What?
rule, but critics at the time noticed a change. Voters were looking to spread recognition, not repeat history. Speculation, but widely discussed by journalists in the late 1980s. Meanwhile, U2's The Joshua Tree had exploded with critical acclaim. It was powerful, political, rock-driven, exactly the kind of project the Academy historically gravitated towards. Reviewers called it serious, timeless, and artistically significant, labels the Academy had always rewarded. Michael's problem wasn't quality. Bad was a polished, innovative pop machine. His challenge was perception. The Academy still saw him as the face of mainstream megapop, a category they rarely crowned as Album of the Year. Quincy Jones would later mention publicly that Grammy voting had deep political undercurrents, hinting that popularity could actually work against an artist in certain categories. And he wasn't wrong. The 1980s Grammys had a track record of choosing prestige over impact. So even before the ceremony began, the atmosphere was shifting. The votes weren't just about music. They were about image, identity, and the Academy's idea of serious artistry. And that quiet internal bias was about to collide with the biggest star in the world.
The backlash that no one wanted.
As Bad dominated the world, something else was happening. Something quieter, harder to measure, but powerful enough to influence a vote. By late 1987, the media narrative around Michael Jackson had begun to shift. Instead of focusing on his music, tabloids were building an entirely different story, the eccentric superstar. Headlines obsessed over his appearance, his lifestyle, and every minor rumor they could twist into a spectacle. This constant noise created what industry writers called Jackson fatigue. Not among fans, but among critics and insiders who were growing numb to the idea of Michael winning everything again. And the Grammy voters, many of whom paid close attention to press cycles, weren't immune to it. Some journalists at the time claimed that the Academy had started gravitating towards artists who fit a more authentic or serious mold, distancing themselves from highly commercial acts.
How you get Jackson for bro? This is what I'm talking about. Well, I hate politics and like if he had the biggest album or the best album, y'all felt like he had 5 #1 hits from one album, not something that no male has ever done in history, and he still don't win the Grammys. Like he don't get the best album award. How? Like I just don't understand. I can't. Who won in 1988? I gotta find out who won. Hold on, let me see.
Whispered that voters didn't want to appear like they were handing the industry's highest honor to a global phenomenon rather than a critical darling. This, however, is just a speculation. U2's image fit the moment. Political, gritty, guitar-driven. Michael, by contrast, was so massive that even his success worked against him. He wasn't just a musician, he was a cultural event. And to some voters, that scale felt intimidating, even polarizing. Behind closed doors, the sentiment grew that the award should go to someone fresh, someone serious, someone who wasn't dominating every chart and headline. Music journalists later pointed out that this era marked the beginning of a long-running Grammy trend.
This is why Eminem stopped going to the Grammys. I see why you stopped going to Eminem. Eminem said, man, I ain't finna keep coming to y'all events so y'all can snub me every year. Like, come on, man. Y'all be giving these awards to people we ain't even never heard of before. Eminem said he ain't never going back to the Grammys, and I don't blame you. It's too many politics, and they just pick who they want, man. They be picking and choosing. So they like to spread the you know what I'm saying, spread the awards around, which I disagree with. If a person ain't earned it, they just ain't earned it. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn if a person won 5 years in a row the best album of the year. If they had the best album that 6th year, you better give it to them.
Valuing pop giants while rewarding rock and alternative acts. Whether this shift was intentional or subconscious, it created the perfect storm. Michael's commercial power wasn't seen as genius, it was seen as excess. And that attitude set the stage for what happened when the envelopes were finally opened. When Michael Jackson arrived at the 30th Annual Grammy Award,
and he gave y'all a performance of the ages when he performed Man in the Mirror. I remember this. And y'all still ain't give him Album of the Year? That he had 5 #1 hits on one album, and he gave y'all a legendary performance at the Grammys. Man, I don't know if Michael Jackson ever came back to the Grammys, but if I was him, after that night, I'm done with the Grammys. I ain't never coming back. Y'all got me fucked up.
March 2, 1988, expectations weren't high. they were absolute. The badges, the press, the critics, the fans outside the venue, everyone assumed he would repeat the dominance he showed just 4 years earlier. Bad had 6 major nominations. Album of the Year felt guaranteed. But when the show started, something immediately felt off. Category after category passed by, and Michael's name wasn't being called. Best Pop Vocal? Lost. Record of the Year? Lost. Song categories? Lost. Even categories where he'd historically been unstoppable? Gone. The room felt the tension. Reporters started whispering. Quincy Jones, sitting in the audience, looked visibly irritated as the night went on. The cameras didn't catch him often, but those who were there said you could read the frustration on his face without a single word spoken. Then came Album of the Year, the moment the entire industry had been waiting for. When the envelope opened and The Joshua Tree by U2 was announced, the shock wasn't subtle. It rippled through the venue like a cold wave. This wasn't just a surprising loss, it was the night's defining upset. Michael Jackson, the most successful artist on earth, had been almost completely shut out. In total, Bad won 1 single award in a major category. Best Engineered Recording, non-classical. An achievement for the technical team, not Michael himself. For an album that shattered worldwide records, it was the kind of result that made people question what was really happening inside the Academy.
Man, fuck the Grammys. Don't never snub my goat again. Man, that's ridiculous, man. He only had 1 award. Just imagine, bro. This is what I don't like. How do you get fatigued? Like, just imagine you, Michael Jackson. You spend all that hard work and time, like preparing for that, like working on that album, releasing it, doing all this media stuff for the album. You release it. It's a major success. It got 5 #1 hits on it. And you go to the Grammys and you get snubbed for everything you done worked hard for, because they said they had Jackson fatigue and they ain't want one artist dominating the Grammys like how you did 4 years ago. Man, I would have been heated. Somebody in that Grammys, somebody would have had to see me before I left. Somebody would have had to run me my fade. I ain't gonna lie. Man, that's ridiculous, man. I don't know if Michael Jackson never showed up to the Grammys again after that, but I would have never showed up again. I ain't coming to y'all Grammys no more. Fuck the Grammys after that. I ain't bullshit.
Critics the next morning didn't hold back. Newspapers called it a stunning snub, an industry statement, even a course correction from voters who wanted to prove they weren't controlled by commercial success. But inside Michael's camp, the mood was heavier. Because despite the applause, the cameras, and the polite smiles, everyone who worked on Bad knew the same thing. This wasn't just a loss, this was a message. And the impact of that message would follow Michael long after the lights faded and the crowds went home. Publicly, Michael Jackson handled the 1988 Grammy shutout with absolute grace. He congratulated U2, thanked his fans, and avoided any headline that could be spun into bitterness. To the cameras, he was calm, composed, and smiling. The same professionalism he'd shown since childhood. But behind closed doors, the atmosphere was very different. People who worked around him during that period later hinted that Michael took the loss far more personally than anyone realized. Not because he needed trophies to validate his success, but because he genuinely believed Bad represented some of the best, most ambitious work of his life. He had pushed himself harder than ever, vocally, visually, creatively. To see that effort dismissed so suddenly hit harder than anyone expected. Quincy Jones, who almost never hides his emotions, was reportedly furious at the night. Engineers and studio musicians who helped build Bad were stunned. One crew member later claimed that Michael felt the Academy was judging him on everything except the music. The tabloid noise, the industry politics, the image critics had created around him. Whether this is true from Quincy, we will never know. Years later, Michael made a rare comment that hinted at how deeply the night affected him. He said awards are nice to receive, but don't always reflect the real truth about an artist's work. It was subtle, but fans recognized the meaning behind it. The snub didn't break him, but it did change him. It marked a turning point, a moment where Michael became hyper-aware that the music industry wasn't always driven by talent or impact. Sometimes it was driven by perception, sometimes by politics, and sometimes simply by the desire to push back against a superstar who...
That's crazy, man. How y'all gonna snub Michael after he gave y'all that performance too? Man, if I'm Michael, I would have told him, man, take my performance off of TV then. Since y'all want to snub me, y'all don't deserve to have my performance on television. Take it off. Like, this is diabolical, man. I'm mad at the ground. I felt like I got snubbed. I'm so angry at this.
Too big to fail. That realization wouldn't just stay with him, it would shape everything he created next.
How the snub transformed Michael.
The 1988 Grammy loss didn't send Michael backward. It pushed him into a new creative gear. If Bad was sharpened by pressure, Dangerous was fueled by something deeper. A desire to prove that he wasn't just a pop machine, but an artist capable of reinventing himself beyond any industry expectation. And you can hear that shift immediately. Michael moved away from the polished Quincy Jones-style production that defined Thriller and Bad and stepped into a harder, more aggressive sound. New Jack Swing, street rhythms, edgier themes. It was as if he wanted to break every box the Academy had tried to place him in. He wasn't chasing the Grammys anymore. He was chasing freedom. He built songs like Who Is It?, Jam, and Give In To Me, with a darker, more complex emotional core. He danced with sharper edges. His visuals became louder, bigger, bolder, not just entertainment, but statements. Michael was no longer interested in fitting the image of pop superstar the Academy expected. He wanted to redefine what pop could be. People around him later said the Grammy snub gave him a kind of creative fire he hadn't felt since Off the Wall. It reminded him that awards were political, impact was eternal. So instead of competing for trophies, he decided to compete against himself. And the result? Dangerous became one of the most influential albums of the 1990s, spawning 2 decades of artists who built their entire sound on what Michael created after the Grammy loss. But the story doesn't end with reinvention. The snub also reshaped the way fans saw the Grammys, and the conversation around Bad would only grow louder as the years went on.
Man. The Grammys should be ashamed of themselves. How y'all gonna snub Mike Jack? I understand he swept 4 years ago. Y'all should have, if y'all felt like he was the best at everything in every category, then 4 years later y'all should have gave him the awards, man. Don't snub my guy. He didn't work so hard. I mean, everybody worked hard at the Grammys, you get what I'm saying? Because you wouldn't be there if you wasn't a hard worker. But I'm saying, like, he had 5 number ones on one album, ladies and gentlemen. And he didn't win Best Album of the Year? Man, the Grammy sad and pathetic, man. I'm out of here. If y'all enjoyed that reaction video, make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. April 24th, Michael comes out. I can't wait. I'm going to be the first one in the movie theaters. Sitting front row. But I'm out of here, man. Make sure y'all smash that like button for your boy. And I'm out of here.